Hello, and thank you for joining me again, this time for a review of the Infinite Physix, this one on a pin down layout. I've recently changed both of my layouts, so this is my updated pin down layout. It's going to be 4.5 by 4 by 4. So the pin position is 1 inch stronger than the pin up one. So some of the differences are going to be due to that more than the pin up or pin down or the pin buffer value. This is the original Physix core. Wrapped around it is Rex Pearl, REX Pearl. That is the cover stock originally featured on the Dark Code. The Dark Code, not one of my favorites, but the original Physix was an absolute favorite of mine. I very recently got rid of the last one that I had, so I had one in my bag for a long time. As you see the layout here, my original Physix was a 5-inch pin up, so a little bit weaker position than this, but it was pin up, so they actually probably flared about the same amount. Get into the review here. The down one was a little bit easier to play from straight away. Typically for me, down stuff isn't quite as angular. It doesn't transition from skid to hook to roll quite as quickly. So it typically lets me play straighter angles, or if I want to play a little further to the right, it's not going to stand up as hard off of the friction. This is unmistakably a Physix. The shape of it is extremely familiar to me. It really just rolls like a souped up version of the original Physix, which was a hybrid formula. So for a Pearl cover stock formula, when it comes with this 4000 grit finish, it does make it pretty early. It does dig into the oil quite a bit. It gains a fair bit of traction for being a Pearl cover. The Dark Code for me was not as good in oil. It needed to be sort of wide open where I really got it to the dirt for it to react consistently. And even then, sometimes it felt a little sharp. So the Dark Code wasn't one that I matched up super well with. I was more excited to see this cover wrapped around this core just to see if it was more of a core thing rather than a ball as a whole that I didn't match up to, and it seems like that is the case, at least early on. Like I said, big Physix fan, so this one for me is going to be something that I throw a lot. Because it's a Pearl ball, I think I'll be able to throw it in league some. It doesn't just grab and burn up like some of the bigger solids, but it does mid-lane well enough that I'll be able to start with it even if they're a little fresher. If you've already watched my video on my pin-up one, you can see that this one is a good bit rounder on the back of the pattern. That's due to the larger pin buffer and the stronger pin position. So this one is pinned down, but it's also 1 inch stronger on the pin position than the pin-up one. The good thing about the pin down one versus the pin up one, at least for me, is that I can wrap my hand around it a little bit more, and it's not going to get too responsive. Sometimes the pin up stuff, especially because I use such a long pin on my up stuff, can get a little quick or get a little long if I really increase my axis rotation and get it down the lane. This one is going to blend that out some and give me a pretty big continuation window, even if I'm using a hand position where I'm more around the ball. And as we get into the comparison here with the Nova, this Nova is pinned down as well, so it's a 5-inch pin down, so just a touch weaker than the Physix, but you will see they actually look pretty close around third arrow. They hook in about the same spot. The Nova is a little bit cleaner and a little bit quicker, but overall, total hook-wise, they're actually pretty close. As I move in here, you'll see that the Nova really does not have the traction and the volume in the middle of the pattern the way that the Physix does. The Nova is also a touch sharper, where the Infinite Physix rounds off the end of the pattern just a little bit more. So that's the first shot where I've moved into the oil and you really see the Nova miss it. Where here, I believe you'll see the Infinite Physix pick up and get there. This is to be expected. The Nova cover stock formula, which is R2X, is a weaker formula than that REX formula. So not surprising that the Infinite Physix is stronger overall, but the Nova being a hybrid and the Infinite Physix being a Pearl, I wouldn't have expected the gap to be quite this big. I probably have the Nova 3 to 5 boards weaker than the Infinite Physix, and the Nova really needs quite a bit more friction to pick up and shape the right way. You see from deeper with steeper angles, it just doesn't have the bounce, it doesn't have the traction in the middle part of the lane to pick up and still make the corner, where the Infinite Physix will pick up there and see it quite a bit sooner than the Nova will. This next shot I bellied it and kept it pretty straight, only got it to about 10 down the lane, and the Nova actually did make the corner. So both of them good for kind of keeping it in the oil and keeping my angles super straight, but if I were to leak the Nova a little bit, I don't think that it would recover at all, where I do have some room with the Infinite Physix that way. The next ball I chose was the Ufo Alert for a comparison. This one is the exact same layout as the Infinite Physix, so 4.5 by 4 by 4. You'll see the Ufo Alert is further down the lane and a little bit more angular. Even though the Ufo Alert is a hybrid, it was one of the cleanest shells in my bag, and that UFO core really keeps the ball smooth and even, and it doesn't change direction really fast, but it does get down the lane really well. So it's this really unique shape where it's clean and long and doesn't really grab in the mid lane, but it's really, really smooth and predictable on the back part of the lane. In this case, the Infinite Physix is mid-linear and earlier, so it does pick up a little bit sooner. It's not really any more angular. They're actually pretty close on the back part of the lane as far as the change of direction and the transition. This isn't exactly surprising because the core numbers are somewhat similar, but you can see in the oil the Infinite Physix will see it. That extremely long, clean hybrid cover that's on the Ufo Alert doesn't quite pick up whenever I get way into the middle of a pattern and try to open up my angles. So overall, the Infinite Physix is a touch stronger front to back. I would probably say 2 to 3 boards here, so a smaller gap than the gap between the Infinite Physix and the Nova. Once again, the release date on this thing is July 8th. This is one that I think is going to be really good for me and one that we're going to sell a lot of through the Pro Shop. So if you'd like to get your hands on one or get one pre-ordered, reach out to me at Millennium Bowling Supply. Thanks again for watching. If you like these videos, you want to see more, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. There's also a video out on the Idle Cosmos if you'd like to check that out. It is a little bit different format than what we normally do, so check it out. Let me know what you think. Storm Nation.